Well, hello there. Welcome back to Recky. We're gonna check out something that is really interesting to me and really cool. I think you would like it too. We're gonna go back to the military show, one of the best channels out there, according to me. If you haven't checked out the military show yet, you find the link for the video we're gonna watch, and of course for the channel. Go there and give them the support that they so much deserve. If you do enjoy the content you're currently watching, don't forget to smack the like and, of course, hit that subscribe. Something I would really appreciate. Really appreciate it. Appreciate. I really would appreciate that. There you go. Right there. Before we watch, we say thank you so much to the coolest people on earth, the awesome people of Recky, the channel members, and the patrons. Thank you so much for the excellent support. And a big shout out to the Supreme Tier donators over by Patreon and, of course, channel membership. God bless. Personal shout outs to the ultimate supporters: Deja, Walt, Dwayne, Dana, Troy, Robert, Matt, Lon, Barbara, and Kevin. That list. It's so nice to read that list. If you want to become one of them, go check out the join button to become a member. Check out the coolest link ever pinned on top on all the other comments. I think we're ready, because I am ready. All right, let's do this. It's 25-minute long, so I'm going to get a bit comfortable here.
As China seeks to...
So what kind of video are we going to watch, Ricky, you Nimrod? China's brand new aircraft carrier versus USS Gerald R Ford supercarrier. And we've seen a few videos of Gerald R Ford supercarrier, and it's freaking mind-blowing. Is this going to be a direct, what do you call it, comparison? I'm going to call it comparison, direct comparison between the China's aircraft carrier versus the United States one. Let's find out.
Further its presence in the waters of the Pacific, it has commissioned a new supercarrier to add to its fleet that they are hoping will compete with the US Navy's new Gerald Ford supercarrier. But how does the Fujian compare to the Navy's newest addition to its carrier fleet? Does it have the technological capabilities to compete with modern blue water carrier fleets? What is the likely military doctrine that will outline its use in battle? In this video, we will seek to answer these questions and more. Let's delve right in. Much of what we know about the new Fujian is based on reconnaissance imagery and intelligence analysis. The Chinese Type 003 Fujian supercarrier
Type 003 Fujian supercarrier
has a 316-meter flight deck and has a beam of 76 meters at the flight deck. It is conventionally powered by 8 boiler steam turbines, producing approximately 220,000 horsepower at its 4 shafts. The Fujian is expected to utilize electromagnetic catapults, a step up from the ski jump configuration of its predecessors. Its displacement will be about 80,000 tons with a full combat load, though recent intelligence suggests that it may actually displace closer to 100,000 tons. The ship will be crewed by approximately 2,000 sailors and 60 flag staff officers. The endurance of the Fujian is not yet known, however. The Type 002 carrier Shandong has a top speed of 31 knots and a range of 25,928 kilometers, 16,000 miles, at 14 knots. Similar performance is expected from the Fujian, though.
We need more information, because I think that the Shandong is smaller, right? Because so far, top speed 31 knots, and the top speed was 29 knots. Doesn't mean anything besides that I think that the Fujian is bigger, right?
Top speed is slightly slower at 29 knots. Construction on the Fujian began sometime in the 2010s, though the exact date is currently unknown. Construction was paused briefly as the electromagnetic catapult system was developed, but resumed again in the late 2010s. The ship's modules went into dry dock in mid-2020, and reports were that a launch of the vessel was possible by mid-2022. These reports turned out to be accurate, as the Fujian was launched on 17th of June 2022.
Holy crap, look at all those cranes.
sporting the hull number 18. The electromagnetic catapult aircraft launch system, or EMALS as the US refers to it, utilizes a linear induction motor as opposed to the steam piston catapults of other carriers. This represents a significant technological jump for the Chinese, as they have skipped developing conventional steam-driven catapults altogether. The new system has several advantages over steam piston systems, chief of which are reduced stress on the airframe due to a more uniform acceleration, as well as being lightweight, easier to maintain, and faster to reset. The development of the EMALS system was spearheaded by China's top naval engineer, Rear Admiral Ma Wei-ming. The new catapult system will allow the launch of larger and heavier aircraft. The aircraft carrier is expected to utilize a modified J-15 fighter variant for its main fighter wing, until a dedicated fifth-generation fighter can be developed for carrier-based operations.
I gotta be honest with you, I have zero clue on what China has when it comes to anything that is mechanized, to be honest. I am sure that they have 8 million, 10 million strong infantry. When it comes to the mechanized, I have no clue.
In 2021, intelligence analysts concluded that the People's Liberation Army had developed the J-15B, which includes CATOBAR, or Catapult-Assisted Takeoff but Arrested Recovery. The new variant also included an upgraded avionics suite, newer engines, and the ability to launch upgraded missiles. The fighter air wing is expected to consist of 55 modified J-15 fighters. The J-15 carries a crew of 1 to 2 depending on variant and mission. It has a length of 22.8 meters, 73 feet and 1 inch, and a wingspan of 15 meters, 49 feet and 3 inches. It has a gross weight of 27,000 kilograms, 59,000 pounds, and a max takeoff weight of 32,500 kilograms, 71,650 pounds. Max speed is reportedly Mach 2.4.
2.4? Is that good? I feel like that's kind of low Mach, right?
With a ferry range of 3,500 kilometers, 2,200 miles. The aircraft reportedly uses 2 WS-10B turbofan engines. The engines are equipped with afterburners and each produce 30,000 pounds of thrust with afterburners lit. The J-15 is capable of carrying the following ordnance: 1 GSH-31 30mm cannon with 150 rounds, PL-15 long-range air-to-air missiles, PL-12 medium-range air-to-air missiles, PL-10 short-range air-to-air missiles,
holy crap!
YJ-83K anti-ship missiles, KD-88 standoff land attack missiles, YJ-91 anti-radiation missiles, plus assorted bombs and rockets. The aircraft is also capable of utilizing the UPAS-1A buddy refueling pod similar to F-18s in the US carrier fleet. The air wing is also expected to employ prop-powered transport aircraft and KJ-600 AEW and C airborne early warning and control. The KG-600 was specifically developed to take advantage of the Fujian's upgraded catapult system and will lessen the carrier's reliance on helicopters for AEW and C operations, as well as anti-submarine operations. The aircraft is the direct counterpart to the American E-2 Hawkeye and fills a similar role.
They look exactly the same, right? Look at that. Did they have the same designer though? Because the KG-600 versus the E-2 Hawkeye, maybe the belly, no? Well, they look exactly the same.
The new aircraft made its maiden flight on 29th of August 2020, with flight testing continuing into 2021. The KJ-600 is a high-wing turboprop aircraft fitted with a large overhead radome. It's suspected that the radome houses an AESA-type radar system in a 3-way configuration. It has a crew of 3 to 5 airmen. It is 18.14 meters long, 59 feet and 6 inches, and has a wingspan of 25 meters, 82 feet. The tailplane is a quad-fin configuration for increased stability. The aircraft is powered by 2 Zuzu Wojiang 6C turboprop engines, each producing 5,103 horsepower. The engines spin 6-blade constant-speed feathering props, which are capable of pitching to reverse thrust. The aircraft has a max gross weight of 30,481 kilograms, 67,000 pounds, and an empty weight of 25,401 kilograms, 56,000 pounds. It has a stated range of 1,250 kilometers, 780 miles, and a ferry range of 2,800 kilometers, 1,700 miles. The KG-600 has a max speed of 693 kilometers.
Well, one thing that is kind of confusing that the Chinese army or the Chinese government, whatever it is, hasn't used the catapult, the new one. And I think that the Americans have used that for like forever, meaning that China's supercarrier is getting up there when it comes to technology. Meaning that what he said, that they can actually use the supercarriers to utilize bigger aircrafts. So China's coming.
Per hour, 431 miles per hour, and a service ceiling of 15,000 meters, 50,000 feet. It's also possible that the air wing will consist of unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, and helicopters. It's anticipated that the air wing will consist of approximately 1,000 airmen. Defensive capabilities are expected to include 3 30mm close-in weapon systems, CIWS. These weapon platforms are to be outfitted with AESA radar and are able to intercept anti-ship missiles traveling at Mach 4+ with 96% accuracy. It's also believed that the carrier will employ short-range air defense missiles and anti-submarine rocket capabilities. While the Fujian has already been launched, it's not expected to be ready for combat operations until 2024 or 2025. Even still, the Fujian is expected to be the most capable non-US aircraft carrier deployed to date. It represents a giant leap forward for China's Navy, but
what? What? Oh shit, hold on, I'm gonna go back forever so slightly here.
Carrier deployed to date.
Looks like Raytheon is actually, oh damn. That's kind of cool. So the Chinese actually bought something from Raytheon.
Presents a giant leap forward for China's Navy, but is it enough to stand toe-to-toe with the United States?
Here we go.
One important factor to consider is how the carrier will be utilized. China does not have much experience in carrier operations. While the United States has the benefit of 100 years of experience, China is in a rush to play catch-up. Launching and recovering aircraft in all weather and lighting conditions is something that takes practice, solid operating procedures, and delicate orchestration. Reports indicate that as of now, Chinese aircraft still utilize land-based airfields precisely because of these shortcomings. They also lack experience in anti-submarine warfare and anti-ship missile detection and engagement. Though the KJ-600 aircraft is being developed to deploy with the Fujian, it's not yet fully operational. Due to the fact that the carrier has conventional propulsion systems, it must cruise with a fuel tanker for sustained operation, exposing yet another vulnerability. Because of these factors, the carrier is likely to be utilized in regional waters in show-of-force operations, but lacks the experience, technology, and capability for effective and sustained combat operations in distant waters away from mainland resources. This effectively limits its use as a blue water Navy flagship in the modern arena.
I kind of get goosebumps when it's talking about blue water ships. I know exactly what it means. I mean, there's blue water is being out there when it's 250,000 miles to the land, no matter where you look. And I really like that name, blue water ship. But this just basically means that China is actually coming up to the technology, getting close to it. Maybe not getting close to it, but they are actually in the vicinity of being close to getting the same technology as the world leader when it comes to this technology, United States. Yeah.
Gerald R. Ford-class supercarriers are the United States' latest carrier class, set to replace the current fleet on a one-for-one basis. It's expected that 10 carriers will be built and launched over the course of the upgrade process. It's expected that all 10 carriers will have combat capability by 2040. The first ship, the USS Gerald R. Ford (CVN-78), began construction in 2005, was launched in 2013, and was commissioned in 2017. CVN-78 is replacing the USS Enterprise, CVN-65. CVN-78 has a 337-meter flight deck with a 78-meter beam, just slightly larger than the Fujian. It utilizes 2 nuclear reactors for power and can reach speeds in excess of 30 knots. The nuclear power plant provides the Gerald Ford with an unlimited range. The ship utilizes 4 electromagnetic catapults, as well as an advanced arresting gear system. Displacement with a full combat load is at 100,000 tons and has a complement of 508 officers and 3,789 enlisted men. The air wing employed on CVN-78, CVW-8 or Carrier Air Wing 8 consists of 4 Super Hornet squadrons, an E-2 Hawkeye squadron, an EA-18 Growler squadron, C-2A Greyhound squadron, and 2 MH-60 helicopter squadrons. At the time of this video, there are currently no 5th-generation F-35 Lightning II fighters attached to the air wing. However, this capability would not be difficult to add in the future as the F-18 begins to be replaced by the multi-role fighter. The F-18 Super Hornet is a supersonic twin-engine multi-role fighter. It is considered a 4th-generation fighter, which puts it in the same class as the J-15B. The Super Hornet has a crew of 1 to 2 depending on variant and mission. It has a length of 18.31 meters, 60 feet and 1.25 inches, and a wingspan of 13.62 meters, 44 feet and 8.5 inches. Max takeoff weight is 29,937 kilograms, 66,000 pounds, and has an empty weight of 14,552 kilograms, 32,000 pounds. The aircraft is capable of reaching 1.6 Mach and is powered by 2 General Electric F414-400 afterburning turbofans.
I gotta tell you, I have no clue if how the Mac actually goes in. Is it? I think this is just 1.5. I mean, the Chinese vessel had a 2.3, but I don't really understand how to compare that. Of course, it's better to. I have no idea. I'm gonna put that in a drawer. You guys can help me out when it comes to the Mach.
Each engine is capable of producing 22,000 pounds of thrust with afterburners lit. It has a range of 2,346 kilometers, 1,458 miles, and a combat range of 822 kilometers, 511 miles. The fighter is armed with one 20mm M61A2 Vulcan cannon and 412 rounds of ammunition. It carries 4 AIM-7 Sparrow missiles, 4 AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles, 12 AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles, and 12 AIM-260 JAT-M missiles. It can also carry 6 AGM-65EF Maverick air-to-ground missiles, 4 AGM-84H KI SLAM-ER missiles, 6 AGM-88 HARM missiles, 4 AGM-158 JASSM missiles, 4 AGM-154 Joint Standoff Weapon JSOW glide bombs, 4 AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missiles, 4 AGM-158C LRASM missiles, JDAM bombs, laser-guided bombs, Mark 80 series bombs, and CBU-78 Gator mine systems.
Okay then, that's a couple of things they can have.
As far as avionics, the Super Hornet utilizes either the Hughes APG-73 or the Raytheon APG-79 radar systems. It also carries either the Northrop Grumman ITT ALQ-165 self-protection jamming system or the L3 Harris AN-ALQ-214 integrated defensive electronic countermeasure system. The Raytheon AN-ALE-50, BAE AN-ALE-55 tow decoy, Raytheon AN-ALR-67 radar warning receiver, and the MIDS LVT JTRS data link transceiver are also carried. The E-2 Hawkeye is the US Navy's aircraft for AEW&C operations, as well as anti-submarine operations. The Hawkeye is a high-wing, quad-tail, turboprop-powered aircraft. In looking at its physical appearance, you can see where the inspiration for the KJ-600 came from. It also has a large radome affixed above the wing. The aircraft first saw service on 21st October 1960 and has undergone many modifications and
that's a complete mind-blowing. He's been operational since the 60s.
Refinements since that time in order to meet the needs of the current battlefield. The current model E-2D has aerial refueling capability. It is 17.6 meters, 57 feet, and 8.75 inches long, and has a wingspan of 24.6 meters. 80 feet and 7 inches. It has a max takeoff weight of 26,082 kilograms, 57,500 pounds, and is powered by two Allison Rolls-Royce T59A427 turboprop engines. It has a 6-hour operational endurance time at sea, allowing sustained command and control operations. The C-2 Greyhound is a transport variant of the same aircraft. It's responsible for Carrier Onboard Delivery (COD) operations. CVN-78 hosts a robust defensive weapons suite designed to protect the carrier from multiple avenues of attack. These include 2 Mark 29 guided missile systems, 2 Mark 49 guided missile systems, 3 Phalanx CIWS gun platforms, 4 Mark 38 25mm machine gun systems, and 4 M2 50 caliber machine guns. The defensive systems are tied together by upgraded AN Spy-3 X-band multifunction radar and AN Spy-4 S-band volume search radar.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I am totally overwhelmed. So the comparison between the China's and the United States supercarriers, it's kind of hard to keep up. But I'm gonna say this: the USS Gerald R is just a bitchin' air supercarrier. I mean, there's nothing like it, and they are actually creating a few more that will be all operational 2040. China has one. I am blown away completely.
These systems are all tied to the SSDS, or Ship Self-Defense System. This system has the ability to automate the fire control
Holy
loop,
shit,
which
look at
shortens
the
the response
size.
time from detection of a threat to engagement of the threat. The supercarrier also has stealth features, which are designed to reduce its radar cross-section. An additional feature of the carrier is the placement of the island, the superstructure which houses the bridge, air traffic control, and command center. The island has been placed aft on the carrier, opening up more space on the flight deck for aircraft to taxi. This change is expected to increase aircraft launch and recovery by nearly 30%. This increased efficiency allows for more sorties to be safely launched than the previous Nimitz-class supercarrier. The US Navy has been operating carriers since 1922, with the launch of CV-1, the USS Langley. With over 100 years' experience, the United States Navy has perfected the intricate ballet that is carrier operations. The current US Navy is capable of carrying out combat operations for extended periods of time before resupply day or night, in all manner of weather. China lacks this experience, however, they have the distinct advantage of trying to emulate the US Navy's operations procedures, technical capabilities, and proficiency. While they are aggressively playing a game of catch-up, at this stage it does not appear that they are at the same level as the United States.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely not.
This is evident in the technological capabilities of the equipment they have deployed. The carrier, while large and technologically advanced as compared to the Type 001 and Type 002 carriers, has some serious shortcomings. It only has 3 catapults as compared to the Ford's 4. It does not have as robust a defensive electronics and weapons suite as the Ford. Perhaps its biggest shortcoming, however, is the propulsion system. Being conventionally powered, it must either cruise with a tanker for blue water operations or remain in regional waters. So the
that's a really big downside. I mean, you have the nuclear power, you can be out there for freaking years. Like I think it was 20 years too. 10, maybe 20 years. That's what you call a blue water vessel right there.
Carrier would have to protect both itself and its fuel supply. This is a major blow to its combat capability, so the Fujian is likely to patrol regional waters well within the range of shore-based assets that can offer resupply and tactical assistance. This, combined with the strike group that carriers sail with, would offer enough protection to overcome these shortcomings, but at the expense of global reach. This may be good enough for the Chinese, as they may not necessarily be interested in global reach at this point. As President Nixon once stated, the Chinese tend to be firmly focused on China first, even at the expense of political doctrine. This is evident when viewing the alliances they hold, as they don't necessarily fall along the lines of political or economic dogma. So if they are primarily concerned with showcasing military might regionally, then the Type 003 may in fact fit the bill. Having said that, there are other areas that continue to hamper the effective use of the Fujian, beyond the capabilities of the carrier itself. The air wing seems to lag behind the United States in terms of capability and effectiveness. In comparing the J-15 to the F-18E, for example, the United States clearly has an edge. This advantage extends to not only the aircraft's capabilities, but in terms of ordnance carried, mission capabilities, and defensive capabilities. The Super Hornet has had the luxury of time to grow and mature, standing on the shoulders of the original F-18 and the experience gained from the F-14 program. The upgrades are purposeful and well thought out to suit the needs of the Navy and the US Department of Defense as a whole. It would seem that the upgraded J-15 had a less focused development and seems to be more haphazard without a clearly defined role. Sometimes more isn't always better, it's just more. The KJ-600, while very similar in aesthetic to the E-2 Hawkeye, doesn't have the same loitering time and avionics suite. It's true that the Chinese government has kept a tight lid on its capabilities. On the surface, it comes off as a less capable clone. Military technology will only get you so far, however. Tactics and training are often what wins the day. It is
But I want to say, I completely agree with you when it comes to this video. Without a doubt, the USS Gerald R Ford supercarrier and all the content that they have on board, including aircraft, of course, way better than the Chinese one. There's no doubt about it in this video and to what we know. But I'm pretty sure China has some aces up their sleeves, not giving all out in the information directly. That's what I have to say about that, because we don't know. I mean, the only downside so far is that they actually had a fuel engines, like they need to refuel, and they cannot be out in blue water without a tanker. That's a huge downside. But we don't know what else they have up their sleeve.
Is in this area where the largest difference between the two carriers and sailors on board is evident. As previously stated, the US Navy has been operating combat-capable aircraft carriers for 100 years. They have seen combat operations in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Middle East, the Balkans. The sailors on board train relentlessly to maintain a state of combat readiness that is based on experience and lessons learned in the high-stakes world of warfare.
The Americans have doctrines and they have SOPs for basically anything that they will encounter due to the 100 years of capability and experience.
Chinese do not share this experience or advantage. No Chinese carrier fleet has actively participated in combat operations. They have simulated strikes on islands. However, they don't have the real-world experience to adequately simulate the pressures of sustained operations where lives are at stake. The PLAN affords the average pilot 100 to 150 hours of flight time annually. US pilots, by contrast, typically fly 200 hours per year. US pilots and sailors are able to conduct combat operations anywhere, at any time, and in all manner of weather. Chinese pilots to date lack this capability. The United States also spends much time and resources training the carrier strike force to operate as a cohesive unit. Through years of experience, procedures, information flow, and command structure have all been carefully crafted to operate globally with extreme effectiveness. It is unknown how much China invests in cohesive combined arms training, but it would have to be overt and extreme to compete with the level of training the US fleet employs. Taking all these considerations into account, it's clear that if we were dealing with a carrier-to-carrier engagement, absent additional naval and mainland support, things would most likely end badly for the Fujian. However, when adding the support that the Chinese have available regionally, it's interesting to consider what would happen in a regional engagement between the two navies. If one were to conduct a thought experiment into what would happen if China were to take hostile action against Taiwan, we would first have to make some assumptions to get an idea of the playing field. First, let us assume that the Fujian would commence the engagement in the Taiwan Strait. Let's also assume that the Gerald Ford strike group was operating independently without support of additional carrier groups. Also, let us make the assumption that additional aircraft would not be provided by the Chinese mainland Air Force. Finally, let's assume a conventional, non-nuclear conflict where hostilities are already occurring and the rules of engagement allow for the full use of force. It would seem logical that the first order of business would be to establish air superiority and to limit the Fujian's mobility. This would mean removing its tanker from the fight through either subsurface, surface, or aerial means. The Ford has approximately 48 strike fighters available. and can launch between 160 to 270 sorties a day. The Fujian has 40 strike fighters available, and based on existing figures from the Type 001 and 002 carriers, can launch 20 sorties per day, based on numbers gleaned from training exercises. This vast disparity of flight operations indicates that the Fujian Air Wing would likely be overwhelmed in action.
I mean, the air supremacy would be non-defiant. I mean, that was the capability of the USS Gerald R Ford supercarrier is immensely better in the capabilities of, if you compare it to the Chinese one.
Actual combat conditions. This simple math does not take into account the early warning detection and electronic warfare capabilities the Ford enjoys. To further exploit the Fujian's weaknesses, the Ford would likely commit to night operations or foul weather operations that would further wreak havoc on the Chinese air wing. With its air wing decimated and an inability to maneuver, the Fujian's contribution to the fight would be marginal at best. From this standpoint, the Fujian seems like a paper tiger, but the reality is that the constraints that we put in our analysis are unlikely to exist in reality. The Chinese mainland forces would be unlikely to allow their fleet to be encircled and besieged. Likewise, the United States is unlikely to enter the fray without the support of allied nations or an additional carrier strike group. It is conceivable that in addition to Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines, South Korea, Thailand, and even Vietnam would offer aid if not join the fight outright. The risk of the incident turning into a global conflict is very real and not to be taken lightly. However, even in this scenario, it seems unlikely that the Fujian would come out on top, especially if the conflict extended out into what is considered the second island chain. Current analysis seems to indicate that the Fujian serves a political role and a way of flexing regional muscle as a means of intimidating East and Southeast Asian countries, as China continues its effort to expand what it considers its territorial waters, a regional show of force that would augment the man-made islands and the airfields they have placed as footholds in disputed waters. In November of 2023, the Type 002 carrier Shandong and its strike group operated in the Taiwan Strait for 2 weeks and flew 420 J-15 sorties. This show of force, however, does not likely indicate an imminent threat to Taiwan, but can be used to assess how the Fujian is likely to be utilized. Analysts have also concluded that unlike the United States' use of the Ford as an offensive asset, the Chinese have adopted the Fujian as a defensive asset, specifically as it comes to the first island chain off the coast.
I don't think United States know the word defense, to be honest. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the Gerald R Ford is basically just full-on attack. Or deterrence, to be honest. Defense? No, I don't think so.
China has placed most of its development and deployment on the ability to launch shipborne cruise missiles. It's likely that the carrier air wing is intended to protect these ships from attack, rather than offensively engaging targets like the United States doctrine. The Department of Defense has indicated that while they do not believe China currently has the capability of successfully invading Taiwan, they may by 2027. This is per testimony presented to Capitol Hill by Admiral Phil Davidson. One thing that is evident is that while that may be the case now, it's not something to be taken for granted. China is aggressively working toward creating a truly capable blue water navy. Ship to ship, China does have the largest navy in the world. They also possess superior industrial capabilities and can build and launch ships twice as fast as the United States. The next carrier in Chinese development is purportedly slated to be nuclear-powered, larger and with a more capable air wing. China is already looking at upgrading the J-15 air wing to a fifth-generation air wing and has successfully test-flown the J-35. The J-35 is the Chinese counterpart to the American F-35. We can only hope that the two superpowers never have to engage fleet to fleet. In addition to the catastrophic loss in life that a conflict of this magnitude would create, the economic impact on both countries would be catastrophic. Both countries have economies that are heavily dependent on each other. China owns majority shares in several US-based businesses. These facts make employing the calculus of war tricky, as the United States has never been in an adversarial position quite like this before.
And, of course, like he said, there's so much to lose. However, if China actually goes and invade Taiwan, that's a different ballgame right there, talking about it.
Only time will tell how the story will unfold. But what do
Um,
you think? What would happen if China and the US found themselves in a fleet-to-fleet confrontation? Who would win? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more military analysis from military experts.
oh, dear Lord, that's another complete banger. From if you haven't checked out the channel, the Military Show, you got to do it because this is one of the best YouTube channels out there. You find the link for the channel and of course for the video we just watched. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. If there's actually a battle between China and the United States, I'm pretty sure that's gonna be the end of the world because that's two superpowers with great capabilities. But the end, and I trust in God that the United States will actually prevail and beat the crap out of them. But I really hope that never happens because the world that we look into now, 2024, in the beginning of January, is in shambles already. And it's actually a terrifying feeling to understand that the world is such in a disarray right now that any day now, shit could hit the fan. And I don't want to live in this world. But evil is always lurking around the corner in the shadows. And the good people, the good nations always need to be on guard. And I'm again super happy to know that the great nation of the United States is on the good side. If you did enjoy this, don't forget to smack the like and of course hit that subscribe. I would greatly appreciate that. Until next time, I'm Recky. You stay safe.